Please be for real right now, because calling someone a misogynist just because they criticize a female idol or group is not only lazy, it's flat out ridiculous. So far, K-pop in 2025 hasn't been terrible, but honestly, I'm starting to feel like we've hit a wall. We've had some solid bangers, and I'm all for trying new things. But this right here? It's like we went from catchy music and decent experimentation to this. What happened to making something that actually sticks with you? The visuals are great, no complaints there, but the actual music? It's like everyone's too busy chasing trends and forgot what made us love K-pop in the first place. And let me be clear. If this is the direction the year's going, I'm not exactly thrilled. I need more than just a bunch of flashy gimmicks. I need music that has depth, I need soul, I need something that means something, not just what's cool for now. But hey, if you're ready for a bit of honesty, you've come to the right place. Welcome back, Rosemary, both old and new. Let's get into it. And honestly, don't even bother with the fecking snowflakes who'll probably cry about these opinions. Let's go. Well, duh. It's so easy to measure success when a group is at the top of the world, right? Everyone's obsessed, their songs are everywhere, and everyone's acting like they're untouchable. But what happens when the fame starts to slip away? What happens when that peak starts to fade, and the crowds aren't as loud anymore? That's when the real test begins. If a group decides to just sit back and let it all go, recycling the same old sound and living off past glory, how sad is that? Like, are we really just supposed to applaud that? I get it, not everyone's cut out to stay at the top forever, but at least try to do something new, something interesting. Don't just fade into the background and act like you're still relevant. It's pathetic, but of course, that's exactly what we see sometimes. Groups that just get comfortable, play it safe, and stop evolving. They act like they're too good for growth, too good for new ideas, and just ride the wave until it crashes. What a joke. You can't stay stuck in the past and expect people to remember you for anything more than a has-been. If you're not pushing the envelope, if you're not experimenting and taking risks, what's even the point? It's embarrassing to watch, honestly. So let me spell it out. If you can't handle the decline with a little creativity, don't even bother sticking around. Look at the groups with the most staying power, and you'll notice something important. They're not overcrowded with 12 or 13 members. I'm not saying there's no place for big groups, but if we're going to be realistic for a second, when you've got that many people all fighting for the spotlight, it's chaos. Someone's always getting buried in the mix, and that's not how you build a legendary group. The smaller groups are the ones that really shine. Think about the 4 or 5 member groups that actually let each member show their individual skills. You get better balance, you get more meaningful contributions from every single member, and you get stronger brand power overall. No one's getting lost in the shuffle, no one's just filling space. Everyone has room to grow, to show off, to really make their mark. And let's not even get started on the overstuffed groups where it feels like half of them barely have a chance to sing. It's not cute. Groups with fewer members have a way better shot at longevity and staying relevant because they actually let each member shine without overcrowding the stage. Bigger doesn't always mean better. It's just a mess. Honestly, I really wanted to enjoy both of these songs, but they just felt empty. Like, I couldn't get into them the way I was hoping. With Zen, I just think the song could have been so much stronger. The visuals were stunning, don't get me wrong. They were literally the only highlight of the whole thing, and yeah, that's kind of the point, but I really feel like the track itself could have had more oomph, something that would have captivated the audience and left them stunned. But nope. It felt like something was missing. If the song had more substance, it could have built so much anticipation and hype around her upcoming album. Imagine if the song actually hit with the same energy the visuals did. People would have been talking about it non-stop. Instead, it felt like a missed opportunity to get the general public more invested. As for Hangover Love, it was just meh. I don't know what it was, but I just couldn't get behind it. I tried, I really did, but it just didn't click. The MV? Yeah, it was entertaining, but that's about it. I'm left thinking, is this it? I don't know, both of these tracks could have been so much more, but they ended up feeling kind of flat. Jennie has so much potential, and she deserves better than this. The visuals were there, but the songs? Not so much. Defending your bias is one thing, but blindly covering for them when there's solid evidence of wrongdoing? That's just enabling toxic behavior. It's not supporting anymore. It's protecting bad actions, and that's seriously messed up. In 2025, we've got fans out here who will excuse literally anything their faves do, no matter how awful, because it's their idol. Like, how far are you willing to go? Just because they're your fave doesn't make them untouchable, and you already know that they're not above criticism. So why do you keep behaving so foolishly? And it's not just annoying, it's actually harmful, because this whole blind loyalty thing just keeps feeding into toxic cycles. When you ignore real problems just to protect your image of them, you're literally preventing them from growing. No one's gonna get better if they're never called out on their crap. And don't come at me with the "they're human" or "they're children" excuse. That's a weak defense mechanism. How many times do I have to tell you that accountability and consequences doesn't have an age limit? I'm sure when you did something wrong as a child, your parents scold you, right? You were being held accountable, and you faced the consequences. What's so different about these people you claim are human too? What's ironic is that when fans refuse to admit their idols screw up, we all lose. This isn't about hating on anyone, it's about holding them accountable. If you love your idol, you should want them to be better, not act like they're perfect. And if you can't face the fact that they can do wrong, you're just feeding the problem. It's toxic, and it's gonna hurt both the idols and the fandom in the long run. Stop pretending like covering up bad behavior is loyalty or protecting their honor. It's not, it's just nonsense. Criticizing an idol for their clothes instead of their actual performance is so invalid. Like, seriously, when did we get to a point where what they're wearing is more important than how they perform? It's almost like some fans are so used to lip syncing, flashy choreography, and designer outfits that they completely forget why we actually watch performances in the first place, to see idols perform. But now, for some reason, their clothes are getting all the attention. Are you even paying attention to how they sang or danced? Or are you just looking for anything to nitpick? It's honestly ridiculous. Instead of praising their live vocals, their stage presence, or the effort they put into their performance, people are out here bashing their outfits like that's the most important thing. What does that even say about your standards as a fan? This is just an excuse to hate. You don't have any actual criticism about their talent or their stage performance, so you focus on their clothes. It's lazy, it's petty, and it's weak. If you can't even criticize their skills, then maybe you need to check yourself and realize you're just reaching for things to complain about. What happened to appreciating the performance? You're missing the whole point when you focus on stuff that doesn't matter. A group's peak isn't always their most popular era. Some groups hit their biggest commercial success during an era that wasn't even their best musically or performance-wise. Like, sure, they might have had that viral song that took over the charts, but that doesn't mean that was their peak in terms of artistry or growth. It's ridiculous, because people get stuck on these short-term viral moments and forget that real longevity comes from consistency and evolution. You can have a hit song, sure, but if you're not growing, if you're not pushing boundaries with your music and performances, what are you really doing? A viral hit isn't the whole picture, and it's time people start looking at the bigger picture. Some of the most iconic groups have had their most memorable and meaningful work after that peak moment. They've been grinding, evolving their sound, and improving their stage presence. And honestly, that's where the real value lies. The groups that last aren't the ones who just had a viral hit. They're the ones who constantly push the envelope, not afraid to experiment and grow with every comeback. Oh boy, here we go again. I don't think some stans are ready to accept that idols are not machines. These people aren't programmed to be energetic 24/7, especially when they're constantly working, barely getting any sleep, and running on fumes. I get that fans want to see their faves always on fire, giving their best performance every single time. But we have to admit that sometimes they're just tired. That's not a sign of weakness, no. It's called being human. The pressure to always perform, create, and stay in the spotlight is real. And yet, some fans are so twisted in their thinking that the second an idol slows down or shows any signs of being exhausted, they're immediately labeled lazy. If we're being realistic, you can't expect them to go full throttle every single second and never need a break. Look, we all get burned out eventually. His idols are doing their best with limited rest, and needing time to recharge doesn't make them less committed. If anything, it makes them smart. But nope. Fans would rather criticize them for not performing at 100% all the time. I think the energy needs to be redirected at companies for letting idols rest and not putting them too hard into the spotlight. As much as I love Blackpink as a group, I gotta be real. Individually, they shine way brighter as soloists. Each of them brings something unique to the table, and honestly, I get to see a side of them that I don't get when they're all together under YG's thumb. And let's talk about YG for a second. They're a sinking ship. The way they're handling Baby Monster is just pathetic. Montina's really has no choice but to settle for the mediocrity at this point. YG used to be this powerhouse, but now? They're a shell of their former self. If Blackpink comes back under YG, I swear, it'll be a disaster, because quality music isn't even on their radar anymore. They've been coasting for too long on the fame of their older acts, and now their current groups are getting overshadowed by literally every other K-pop act, some from even smaller companies. The reality is, if Blackpink steps back into the game under YG, that comeback would be a mess. And we all know that it's not going to be the quality we know they're capable of. They deserve better than what YG has left to offer. No, it's not it. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with veneers when they're done right, but some of these idols are walking around with teeth that look so unnatural and creepy, it's honestly hard to understand why the company spent thousands of dollars on them. I mean, why? Why would you pay all that money just to make their teeth look like overly white, perfectly square boxes? It doesn't even look real. It's so obvious. You can tell just by looking at some of them when they smile or open their mouths to talk. Like, I don't know about you, but it makes me feel like I'm about to faint. Okay, maybe not faint, but it definitely makes their mouth shape look off, if that makes sense. It just doesn't look natural, and it completely throws off their whole vibe. You can tell when the veneers are too much, and it's honestly kind of jarring. We've got idols out here with this perfectly white, glossy set of teeth, but it just feels wrong. It's like the smile doesn't match the rest of their face. You're a human, not a porcelain doll. Companies seriously need to chill with this obsession over perfect, unnaturally white teeth and focus more on making them look like real people, not weird plastic mannequins. Woo! Please be for real right now, because calling someone a misogynist just because they criticize a female idol or group is not only lazy, it's flat out ridiculous. Like, what kind of logic are we working with here? Just because someone has an opinion about how a group is handling their situation doesn't automatically make them a woman hater. But of course, that's the go-to response nowadays, isn't it? If you don't kiss the ground a female idol or group walks on, or if you dare to point out where they might have fallen short, then suddenly, you're a misogynist. That's not just playing the victim card, that's straight up weaponizing the term to avoid actual conversations. If you ask me, this kind of response is actually more harmful because it takes away from real misogyny in the industry. Like, it's so frustrating when people throw around the word for anything they don't like. Sure, I can understand that you feel a way when your faves are getting called out, but don't hide behind the misogyny label when someone calls out their actions. This idea that women are untouchable and above critique is just as toxic as any of the issues people claim to be fighting against. It's time to stop using the misogyny label as a shield for when your faves aren't doing what they should. Let's be real. It's time for some accountability. Some producers know exactly how to cover up an idol's vocal flaws, whether it's layering their voice with excessive reverb, stacking background vocals to add fullness, or using just the right amount of vocal effects to make them sound more stable than they actually are. You won't notice how much editing went into it until they sing live, and suddenly, the magic is gone. The parts that sounded smooth in the studio turn shaky, their breath control is all over the place, and you realize just how much post-production was carrying them. That being said, Not every weak singer is unbearable. Some idols may not have strong vocals, but when their songs are tailored to their strengths, like staying in a comfortable range, using softer tones, or relying on their unique vocal color instead of power, they can still sound decent. The problem is, when a company tries to push a weak singer into styles that expose their flaws, instead of working with what they do best. Some idols get away with being mediocre vocalists simply because they know how to work within their limits. The right song, smart vocal direction, and a good amount of confidence can make even an average singer sound passable. But when they're put in situations where they can't hide behind production tricks, that's when the reality hits. I hope you guys didn't take this too personally. It's all just my opinion, so if you disagree, fine, we can agree to disagree. I'm asking you, please, let's keep it mature. Critique all you want, but no need to get snarky or throw unnecessary shade. If you actually enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, Rogieries, so you can keep up with all the content. I'll catch you all next time, and yeah, bye.